So the action doesn't stop over Christmas, and 3 days in a row of top class action. We've got on the 28th of December the Christmas Chase at Leopardstown, formerly known as the Lexus. Plenty of Gold Cup winners have come through this in years gone by, and we've got a few really interesting types in here again this year, including the Gold Cup winner last year, Ben, Sizing John. He's 7-4 at the moment. Simple question, really. Is he the one they've got to beat?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's £7 clear on our ratings. He seemed to have come back better than ever when winning on his reappearance. He beat Jackadam, who's next in our ratings. He absolutely smashed him. I mean, Jackadam's come up against him, I think, 3 times now. And the margin between the pair seems to be getting bigger. I think there was only a short head between them when they ran at Punchestown in the Gold Cup last season. There was 7 lengths between them in the John Durkan. So I think that Sizing John's clearly improving. Jackadam obviously has been a very pretty much a nearly horse in the very biggest races. Obviously he's a multiple Grade 1 winner. Obviously won that John Durkan a couple of times, didn't he? So look, we don't want to take anything away from him, but he has come up short of the very best races. The Cheltenham Gold Cup being the main one. So I think Sizing John's improved past him, hasn't he? So I mean, looking down the list, it's a race that Gigginstown have done really well in. I think they've won the last 3 renewals. They look set to saddle a number of horses again, as you'd imagine. For any Irish race, they'll have about 5 or so in here. But it adds a lot of depth. I mean, Valsalido, he's coming back with a break. He was last seen in this race last year when he looked like he was going to win. But he didn't quite get home for whatever reason. He had stayed 3 miles prior to that, but there was maybe there was something amiss with the horse because he hasn't been seen after that. I'm not completely sure what was the case was for that, but he was supposed to run in the jnwine.com Down Royal, the Grade 1 there, but he had a small setback, so he didn't run in that. So that'd have to be a bit of a concern. But obviously he's only had a couple of starts for Henry de Bromhead, and you wouldn't be surprised if he had a bit more to offer because he clearly relished joining that yard. I think he ran at nearly a career best on his first start for Henry de Bromhead. So, but I mean, you'd probably pass him over for this. You got Sub Lieutenant, who's probably not quite up to this sort of very best Grade 1 level. Disco might be their best chance at Gigginstown of winning a 4th Leopardstown Christmas Chase, formerly a Lexus Chase, in a row. I mean, he's a second season chaser. He's not had much racing, and he's seemingly better than ever on his reappearance. I think it was only a Grade 2 that he won at Down Royal that day when he reappeared, but he seemed to be he seemed to have stepped up on his novice form. We've got Outlander. You never know really what Outlander's going to turn up, and he looks like he might go to the King George anyway. Road to Respect's Noel Mead's other runner other than Disco. He might well run. He's got a similar profile really. They're both quite lightly raced. I think they're both 6. They're both quite young anyway, and they're both probably going to have the better days ahead of them still. So he'd have a chance. But really, Sizing John has the beating of all of these quite comfortably. I think all of those that I've named so far, Sizing John would essentially have to be below form markedly for any of them to win. But the one horse that you could see improving enough to beat Sizing John on what he's done today is Yorkhill. I mean, he's not everyone's cup of tea because he's a bit like Might Bite in that he has shown his quirks. He's probably more quirky than Might Bite perhaps. He jumps out to his left a lot, and he jumped markedly left when on a right-handed track at Fairyhouse on his last start in April 2017. So that was basically not his track whatsoever, and he did show his quirky side. He was very keen. He carted his way to the front and then nearly ran out approaching the last, I think. So it was basically a complete nightmare of a run. But he is probably got the most potential of all the horses in this race. He's the one that you could say you could see him making up into a Gold Cup winner. And he really could, because on what he did before, like even last season, the JLT, you look at the winning margin, I think he beat Top Notch by length. Top Notch has obviously franked that form quite nicely this season, but I mean the thing about Yorkhill is he's won every time he's won, both times at the festival that he's won. He's done so in the style of a horse that you just see he's got so much more in the tank. And although the bare margins are not that impressive, a length beating of top notch probably isn't doesn't earn you doesn't entitle you to be 11-4 for this kind of race. But it's just the way he goes about things, the way he's done it. It just looks like he's got so much more ability than he's already shown, and he has done for some time. Even when he was a hurdler, he just looked, that Neptune that he won. I know he beat Yamworth, who obviously went on. He's probably not the top grade of hurdler, but he's still a Grade 1 winning hurdler. And the way he sort of surged round and past him, he's just looked a special horse for some time. So, in terms of a bet in the race, if Sizing John, let's assume Sizing John runs his race, which we probably have to. There's no reason to think he won't. He's a consistent horse. There's only one horse for me really that can beat him if he runs his race, and that is Yorkhill. And he's a slightly bigger price. He's not going to sort of knock your head off at 11-4, but he's a bit bigger than 7-4 about Sizing John. So I think I've just leant towards Yorkhill, because I really think that he could be a Cheltenham Gold Cup horse easily. It's not hard to see him developing into that sort of horse. Obviously he's got to get his mental side of things right, but he's got so much ability. So if you're looking for a bet in the race, I wouldn't put you off backing Yorkhill at 11-4, because I really don't think any of the others are good enough to beat Sizing John, and I think that he might be.
We saw Sizing John come back. His reappearance was very impressive.
Yeah.
Yorkhill hasn't had that luxury, of course. Is that a concern, or is it good at
it wouldn't be a concern for me. He's been kept fresh for both his Cheltenham Festival runs. I think he had 70 odd days off before he won the Neptune, and perhaps about 50 odd. So clearly the yards like to have him fresh enough for his biggest assignments. Obviously going into Cheltenham Festival is your biggest assignment of the season, so I wouldn't be put off by that. He's from the best trainer in the land, and he's not had a problem as such. He's just not run, as far as I know anyway. Obviously there was talk of him going over hurdles, wasn't there? But I mean, with some of the yards, other horses running well, for Heen notably, if him showing himself to be in really good heart, there's no point in them running him over hurdles, because he would be clashing with him potentially. And that's just how good a horse he is. The fact that we're talking about him, odds checker, if you look at the markets, he's quoted everything from the champion hurdle right through to the Gold Cup. And I mean, that's just the sort of ability that he's got. He could feasibly win, either of those races. He'd have to improve, no doubt, but I think he's just that sort of horse. He's just got so much untapped potential, going back to your original question, being fresh wouldn't be an issue whatsoever, and I think he goes really well fresh.
An intriguing race for sure, and Yorkhill the pick.
Yeah.